So our learning target today is I will learn to estimate products so that I can check my answers when I multiply decimals. I'll know I've got it when I can correctly estimate the product of two numbers. So in this first problem, we are going to solve this problem by multiplying these two decimal numbers. And then we are going to check it by using estimation. Okay, so think back. So this is we're going to review how to multiply multi-digit numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2 times 1 is 2. Now, I take this same 2 and I multiply it by every digit in the top number. 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm still with this 2, and I go 2 times 7 is 14. Now, once I've used this 2, I don't need to use it anymore. And I can erase this just for the sake of being able to see it. And what we are going to do is we are going to move on to the 4. But we are now in the next place value, so we need to put a placeholder right here of a 0. It's always going to be 0. Okay, now we're going to take this 4 and we're going to multiply it by every digit in the top. And remember, we start all over again, just like we did with the 2. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 7 is 28. Now, to get my final answer, I'm going to add the two numbers. 2 plus 0 is 2. 4 plus 4 is 8. 4 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 8 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So now I have this big number. Right now, it's 30,282. But I know that that's not right because I had decimals up here. If we look at our original problem, we had a decimal here and a decimal here. So what I have to do is I have to, there's a couple ways you can do this. We will learn a more efficient way in our next lesson, and you've actually already learned it in your math class. But for right now, what we are going to do, I'm going to erase this. We are going to estimate these numbers and see where our product is, and then hopefully we can place our decimal. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 72 and 1/10. So there's a couple ways to do this. I like number lines. So this is 72, and this would be 73. And then I'm going to break it into 10 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I've now broken it into 10 sections, and I'm going to find the 0.1, which would be 1 over. So it's right here. This is 72 and 1/10. Now this is closer to 72, right? So this becomes 72. And now I'm going to do the same thing with 4 and 2/10. This one might be a little bit easier to see. 4 and 5, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have 10 sections if you count my sections. Okay, so I'm going to put this is 2/10, so 1/10, 2/10. So this is 4 and 2/10, which is closer to 4. Now, this is still relatively easy for me to multiply, and I can do this, and I will. Now that I say that out loud, let's just multiply these together. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. So 288. Now, what I was going to say is if we look back at the 72 and 1/10, sometimes it's easier to go to the whole nearest 10th, or I'm not 10th, tens. Okay, so 72 is between 70 and 80. So what I could do is I could break this up into my 10 sections and say 71, 72 would be right about here. So 72 and 1/10 is much closer to 70. So then this would have made it 70 times 4, which is a little bit easier to do, but not much easier. So 72 is not that much harder to multiply by. So you could do that too, and you would get 70 times 4, which would give you 0.28, so 280. So notice those are pretty close. Okay, so now what I can do is go back to my original answer, and I can say, okay, if I put the decimal here, it's going to be 3,028 and 2/10. Well, 3,000 is way bigger than 288. Okay, so I'm not going to put it there. I could put it here, right? Keep moving it over. 302 and 82 hundredths. Well, 302 is pretty close to 288. But let's just check one thing. If I were to move it here, it would be 30. And 30 is way too small. So my decimal goes here, and my answer for this multiplication problem is 302 and 82 hundredths. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to practice just the estimation part. We're not going to get into actually multiplying these and finding the correct product, but we are just going to estimate these and then get our product. All right, 6 and 93 hundredths. Okay, so this is where I would maybe draw my number line and go 6 and 7, and then make my sections. My sections are not necessarily the most even, but they work. So 6 and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10. Okay, because of this 9 right here, that's why I'm counting by 9/10. So 6 and 93 hundredths is somewhere around there, which is pretty close to 7. Right? It's pretty close here. All right, so then I'm going to multiply. And then I'm going to do the same thing for 3 and 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is 3. I use this 1 right here, so it's 1/10. So 3 and 12 hundredths, or 3 and 1/10 is closer to 3. So now I just get to multiply those two numbers. So 3 times 7 is 21. Okay, so that's how I would do that one. All right, let's move on to this next one. We are going to be multiplying. So let's take a peek at 5 and 21 hundredths. So I really look at this 2, right? And I can think of this as money. So $5.21. I would be closer to $5, right? If I only had 20 cents, that's not close to $1. So this becomes 5. And using that same strategy, that same idea, I can look at 10 and 82 hundredths as $10.82. Am I closer to having $10 or closer to getting to that 11? Well, because 82 cents is pretty close to $1, so this would be 11. So 5 times 11 is 55. All right, for our last one. So this is where our numbers get a little bit bigger, right? 28. Now, I know I could multiply by 28, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to do it over here as a number line, and I'm going to go start at 20 and then go to 30. Okay, and so what this is going to do is this is going to break it in, and I'm going to round to my nearest 10. instead of my nearest whole number, my nearest 10. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 is right about here. So if this is 28, 28 and 3/10 is relatively close to there. Okay, so 28 is a lot closer to 30 than it is to 20. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 30 times, and then 4, and this one I'm going to use whole numbers again, 4 and 5, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. So 8/10 is right about here. Obviously, this is not perfect because we're just estimating, but 4 and 8/10 is a lot closer to 5 than it is to 4. So I'm going to say 30 times 5. And see, this is a lot easier to do than 28 times 5 because we can say 3 times 5 is 15, and then we have a 0. So you are going to work on these 3 problems on your own. And actually, those are the same problems. I'm going to have to change those problems, but you will be working on problems like this on your own on the next slide.